Ain't no way, ain't no how. I'ma let somebody come and shut me down. Hold my own, I'ma stand my ground. I'ma rep my city and salute my town. Said ain't no way, ain't no how. I'ma let somebody come and shut me down. I'ma hold my own, I'ma stand my ground. And I'm ready for whatever, and I still stand proud. Ain't no way. Who you think you kidding, dude? Never thought that I would do.
What up, though? It is your boy Mike D, host of Wrestling from the 313. And as always, this episode is streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So if you're on any of those platforms, make sure you check us out. This episode is brought to you by WSN, the Wrestling Society Network. If you have Apple TV, Roku, the Amazon Fire Stick, download the WSN app where you can check out all types of wrestling content. Shows from independent promotions, documentaries, cartoons. They got a show. They created a wrestling promotion off the WWE video game, so they got a lot of cool stuff. Check them out on there. Go to the WrestlingSociety.com where you can sign up, get a free account, check out all the cool content on there. Go to the podcast room where you can check out all the independent podcasts in the IWC, including Wrestling from the 313. Also, go to the Patreon page. You can subscribe for free. But if you want to get the exclusive and the good stuff, they got membership options for everybody. And today, my guest is back, Brian Hubbart, and he's also brought a guest with him. This is his co-host for the new podcast, Michael Elgin Saves Wrestling. He's an IWGP IC champion. He won the Never Openweight Championship, the Never Openweight 6-man tag championship. He's won the New Japan Rumble match. He's a two-time winner of the Survivor of the Fittest, and he's a Ring of Honor World Champion. Michael Elgin, what up, though? Welcome to Wrestling from the 313.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem, man. Hey, and I appreciate you doing the interview. I know you you're driving right now, so I appreciate you still coming on.
Of course. My pleasure.
For sure. So, Brian, the last time you were on Wrestling from the 313, a lot was in motion. So, what have you been up to since then, and what's changed the most for you?
Well, I've been just grinding with the Push with Prue and getting content for Stage Combat Network also. And then what's changed is now this project with Elgin.
Sweet. So how has Stage Pro Combat been doing?
Doing well. I'm about 870 subscribers. So,
sweet.
I mean, I don't talk about it much, so that's pretty good.
Good. And how's Push with Prue been doing?
That's been doing well. I mean, we ended 2025 with Sean Evans, then Big Dom, then started this year with KT Rogers, and we got Leela Hall coming up next week. Okay,
sweet. That's what's up. So, how did the idea for Michael Elgin Saves Wrestling come together, and why did now feel like the right time to launch?
I had these two projects going. I'm like, I wonder if I float this idea with Michael, if he'd be into it. I was expecting, maybe let me think about it. But I mean, he pretty much was like, yeah, sounds great right away. And I was like, oh shit, okay. And then I showed him what some of the ideas I had. He's like, I love it. I'm like, well, this is going well.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Mike, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, a little bit from my side of things, why I'm interested in this and kind of why me and Brian brainstormed the name is indie wrestling is never going to die, but the quality and the choices for wrestlers to make a living on the independents has been kind of vaporized. So, for instance, I signed my first contract in 2010, but from 2008 to 2010, I made my money strictly being on the independents. And I can't think of one person on the indies that doesn't have a past in WWE or Ring of Honor or AEW or Japan, somewhere where they had a contract where there's a lot of content available to people and that gets regularly recognized by, websites and posts on social media as well as podcasts that are actually actively making a living on the independent scene. And I think part of that is the quality, even throughout the good years, there is always a chance that if there's 4 shows in an area and a fan goes to one of the ones that maybe doesn't have the most advanced wrestlers, that can kind of turn them off the term indie wrestling. And really what I find that is because there's not a lot of people out there that are giving actual feedback and actual advice for people to be better performers, better wrestlers. It seems like there's one of two things. Everybody either tells everybody how great they are or everybody tells everybody they're the shits. And neither one of those is beneficial, because if you just say that sucks without saying, hey, that wasn't the best, maybe you could do this, this, and this to be better. Or if you're just hearing you're the best, you're great, you don't need any work, then why are you still at the level where you're not making a living if you're great? So there's just not a lot of people out there that are giving accurate and important advice to the people coming up on the indies, not only just how to make a living on the indies, but how to advance from the indies to a position where you are in WWE, where you are in AEW, ROH, or going to Japan and such.
That's what's up. So, real quick, Mike, I know that you wrestled in New Japan and you were the never open weight champion. Real quick, explain what is the never open weight, so kind of like the cruiserweight division?
No, so I mean, open weight, it was kind of that bridge between the two. So for instance, if you wanted to have a heavyweight versus a junior heavyweight, you would build that match in the never open weight championship because there was no weight restrictions. So it was kind of a way to bridge that gap and also help junior heavyweights kind of get a little bit of a chance in the heavyweight division. And then in Japan, it's still respected as sport. So you don't just get to move up in divisions. You would be maybe in the never open weight division while you're gaining weight, so you then can become a heavyweight.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I never I'm hip to New Japan a little bit. Like I really didn't get a chance to watch a lot of the shows and stuff, but I read up on it, and I always wondered what the never open weight, what the championship meant or whatever. But
and also I think that New Japan in the last few years doesn't have the same buzz or standing, and that's not a detriment. I love New Japan. I love the talent they still use. I was treated great over there, and I'm not trying to run them down, but people don't realize I had a chance to go to NXT Black and Gold or New Japan, and I chose New Japan. New Japan and Ring of Honor and PWG, all promotions that I was heavily involved in, were kind of the precedent to NXT Black and Gold. Yeah. But I always looked at wrestling as, I'm not going to be Randy Orton. I'm not 6'5". I'm not, I don't have a legacy behind me now. Randy Orton again, and you're going to hear me say this stuff a lot because I don't want anybody to think that I'm shitting on somebody, because I'm not. Randy Orton's a great performer, but he did have advantages. And I knew I wasn't the tallest, but I was a fan of guys like Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho growing up. And I looked at their careers as guys who went to Japan and made a name for themselves, who went to Mexico and made a name for themselves. And then they were welcomed with open arms to the national scene. And even though I had national exposure with Ring of Honor, it was nothing like what people get now, because we were either on Fight Network in Canada or Access TV in the States, and then when Sinclair brought it, it still was just syndicated, and it's not like we were blowing the numbers out of the water for those syndications. So even though we were recognized in the wrestling bubble, we weren't recognized outside of that bubble. And I took the opportunities to go to New Japan and go to Mexico to build up my name so I could get chances on the national scene in the United States. And that was my choice. And I might be one of the few people during that time that chose New Japan over NXT.
Yeah, and NXT had a stacked roster at that time too, but at the same time, New Japan did too, because that's when the
But you got
Bullet
to think,
Club was there.
yeah, I mean, even with NXT, those were all the people I worked with,
Yup,
right?
from
Like,
Ring of Honor. Yup.
you're thinking about Black and Gold. I wrestled Aleister Black as Tommy End on the Indies and overseas. I won the Ring of Honor World Title from Adam Cole. I had matches with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I wrestled Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong and I mean pretty much everybody who had an indie name that ended up going to NXT, Johnny Gargano,
Yeah,
Tommaso Ciampa. Like, I had history with all these people, so I really just chose New Japan because one of my goals when I started wrestling was to compete in Japan, because I collected tapes since 92, 93 of All Japan and New Japan, the Super Juniors. So it's like that was something I wanted to knock off my bucket list per se. And then I knew New Japan worked with CMLL, and I also went to CMLL, and was one of, I think, 5 or 6 foreigners now since Claudio won it that ever won the Grand Prix in CMLL. So, I chose a different path, but I was very successful in those paths.
that's what's up. That's what's up. So, what's the mission of this podcast, and what do you want fans to walk away with after each episode? And I'll start with you, Brian.
I just like to spotlight independent wrestling more with a perspective of someone who actually got paid to do it on a larger scale than most people I'm hanging out with on weekends. I mean, Mike Elgin is just a fountain of knowledge, and I just want to get that out there so others can experience it.
Definitely. What about you, Michael?
I think that's the same thing because, I started my career in 2002 at the age of 15. And then by 2008, I was making a living, but I was in a situation in Canada where Scott D'Amore used his money and his power to get a lot of people booked in Canada. So there's a lot of opportunities for seminars. And 2005, 2006, 2007, I was wrestling AJ Styles, Petey Williams, Tyson Kidd, Samoa Joe, Robert Roode, Rhino. Like, I was wrestling all these guys, so I got a lot of great knowledge handed down to me. And now that a lot of the scene people are either going to AEW or NXT, not doing a lot of indies, or end up being an agent or producer for one of the larger companies, there's not a lot of people out directing and helping the young talent that's out there that want to break through the indies and make it to the next level. So just being able to put forth some of the knowledge I've gained over the years, and I'm still learning, and I still watch AEW, WWE, I still watch as much independent wrestling as I can to just gain knowledge and also see what's out there and see what people might be able to do to be better performers. And that's just where my heart is. I love indie wrestling. I love going to a show and seeing people put everything on the line and give their heart and soul to something that I was very lucky enough to, allowed me to have a family and buy a home and buy a car and do all these things. And I just find that a lot of the space when it comes to wrestling are, like I said, people either saying everything's great or people saying everything's bad, when really it is everything can be better, but things are good. So let's help the good become better and not just run everything down.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. Real quick, you mentioned AJ Styles, and a couple weeks ago he had a match with Gunther. He lost that match. He had to retire. Me personally, and I know in wrestling, a lot of talk. We talk about the GOATs. We always talk about the Hogans, Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock. Just my personal opinion, I think AJ Styles should be in the GOAT conversation. Just what he's done in the last 20 years and what he's done in the last 10 years in his 10 years in WWE has it's been phenomenal. So you being somebody that wrestled against AJ Styles, what do you think?
I mean, absolutely, because like you said, when you talk about GOAT talk and legends and stuff, we're so used to putting the larger than life names on that marquee just because of what they did to elevate the business as a whole. But I think when it comes to AJ, his elevation of the business was much different. It might not have been the global reach that guys like The Rock or Stone Cold or Hogan did, but he influenced a generation of wrestlers to become wrestlers, to take a chance on themselves, because he's not 6'5", he's not 270 pounds, but he brought something and a style and just a passion that wasn't so prevalent with the goats that we often refer to. So to me, he's one of the top guys. That whole kind of era of guys like AJ Styles and Amazing Red and the Briscoe brothers, and a lot of my contemporaries that were in Ring of Honor before. And one of the reasons why I went to Ring of Honor was a lot of these guys. I think their influence can never be denied or downplayed because of how much influence they had on the style we see across WWE and AEW. The dreams that many guys are chasing that might not have chased before if it was just guys like The Rock and Hogan and Stone Cold that we talked about.
Definitely. Brian, what's your thoughts? Do you think AJ Styles should be in the GOAT conversation?
Well, undoubtedly. I mean, he carried TNA for how many years? And then he was like deep talented. Just they kept bringing in older stars, and never really got the run he deserved.
Yeah,
But yet, people were still tuning in to see him.
definitely. We got the question from the OG Charmed Prue. She has a question. Do you have a singular piece of advice you give every wrestler?
Myself?
If both of you want to answer that question, you can.
If you want to go first, Brian, you can go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I mean,
So if it's singular advice, because I really do my best to tailor my advice to whoever I'm speaking to, because some advice, there's always going to be that advice that quote unquote veterans give that is just, like one I'm sure everybody's heard is slow down, and such, right? But nobody goes in depth of why to slow down or where they should slow down in their own work. So a lot of the advice I try to give is tailored per person. But one thing I do my best to, tell everybody, and this goes for anything and everybody, treat pro wrestling like it's your job. We always heard the saying, dress for the job you want, not for the job you got. And the subcategories of that is like, listen, get your nutrition on track, get in the gym, study the business, really put your best foot forward, because there's plenty of people in wrestling that blame the machine or somebody specifically or somebody else or something of why they never made it, when 95% of the time it's their own doing. They didn't go to the gym, they didn't get their nutrition on track, they didn't have the best gear that they could have, they didn't leave their comfort zone of their state or their 50 or 100 miles and get out there and get new opponents. So my biggest piece of advice is treat this like you want to make it your living, which means you got to act like you're already doing it to reach that next level.
Definitely. That's what's up. Brian, did you want to add anything?
yeah, I mean, especially if you're just a new guy, make sure you're the one extending your hand and greeting all the people in the locker room. I mean, if the promoter wants you to go out and set up some chairs or help with the ring, do it. You're not bigger than the sport is.
So, question for you, Michael. You wrestled all over the world. How does talking wrestling on a podcast compare to telling stories in the ring?
I mean, there's never going to be anything to me that ever compares to telling stories in the ring. Um, and that's just real. Like, as I said, man, you got to think. I was born in 1986, and the fact that I first started trading tapes in 1993 tells you how dedicated I was to how just my love of wrestling. And then I started training at the age of 15. You know, I had my first match at the age of 15. So I'm 39 now. I've dedicated my entire life to this. So it's like, you know, you can't, there's just nothing that compares to it. Like, I feel like, I guess the best way to put it that people would understand is like, I feel like Superman when I'm out there in the ring, you know, because I just get to tell this story with physicality in my body that not everybody is capable of doing. And there's nothing like it in the world, you know. It's the best way I would put it is the day I got into wrestling, it became a drug, and there's no beating the addiction to it. Like, I try, you know, everything I've been through in life, I've tried to beat the addiction, but it just keeps, I mean, it's just that demon on the shoulder that keeps dragging me back in every time I try to take a break. It's just like, hey, I'm over here, you know. And it's funny because it's like everything is then wrestling. You know what I mean? It's like, let's try to get wrestling out of it. It's like I'm driving down the street, there's a wrestling poster, and there's at the gas station, it's like promoting the pay-per-view on the friggin'. It's just like you can't get away from it.
Yeah. So, real quick, I want to ask you, just with everything, how everything has been changing in WWE. They got new ownership, and now that the events are like crazy expensive now, do you think that more WWE fans are going to start going to the independents?
No. And why I say that is the quality of WWE compared to the independents is so vast. You know, you always see these posts like, well, if you can't afford WWE or anything, you know, there's something in your backyard. It's like, I understand that, but if you're used to WWE, you're used to wrestlers who look a certain way, wrestlers who perform a certain way, but not every indie company is following that. I mean, realistically, how many shows do you go to and at least 50% of the show is wearing t-shirts?
Yeah.
And that's not, I'm not trying to knock the guys. I don't ever want to sound like that, but it's just a realistic, like, why WWE is a juggernaut in the space of wrestling is because they're real life superheroes. You know what I mean? They're like, I mean, that's why I fell in love with it. You know, I know people have issues with Hulk Hogan, and I do not stand by the things he said and did later in life. But as a kid growing up in the 80s and early 90s, Hulk Hogan was a real life superhero to me.
Yes.
The Ultimate Warrior was a real life superhero to me. And that's kind of why, like, Brett and Shawn, two of my favorite wrestlers of all time. But there's a reason why they didn't draw the money that Hogan and the guys before them did. And that's just because the ever evolving sport, you're looking at like, oh, these guys look like superheroes. They look like the cover of a comic book. And now, yes, we're more into that athletic body. But realistically, honestly, go to a show and tell me how many people you think look like a superb athlete. They don't. And that's just the nature of the beast. Now, would I love it to change? Would I love those people that are being outpriced with TKO and WWE to go to the Indies? Of course, but you have to look at it from a realistic standpoint, and it's fun. It's cheaper. It's more in your face, but it's just not the same.
Definitely. Brian, did you want to add anything to that?
I mean, I don't know. That's pretty spot on. I mean, even the best indie promotion still lags in production and overall quality of like a WWE or AEW.
Got it.
But
Definitely. So Brian, so now that you're going to be co-hosting the podcast. Does that change the way that you look at the wrestling business?
No, because I've been doing stage combat since, well, it was just after the pandemic. And then as I started watching all these matches and going to these shows, I'm like, you know what? I like how this guy performs. I don't see any presence on YouTube, so why not just start recording these? And then as that went along, I was like, okay, now let's start getting people for interviews so more people can be aware of their personality, be it in character or not. And then, yeah, it's just what I've been doing, and now got this coming up. So just an evolution of what I'm doing.
For you guys and anybody that's watching, the faces I'm making are towards my daughter because she's running around. Just so you know, I'm not like mocking what you guys are saying, but
Oh no, it's all good.
she's running around. You can probably hear her yell here and there. So it's just
good.
faces I'm making at her. So I apologize if it looked like maybe I was going like, oh, these guys. No, I was just goofing off with my daughter.
It's all good. So, Michael, from Ring of Honor to New Japan to the Independents, what lessons from those experiences influence how you talk about wrestling today?
I think everywhere, from CMLL to Ring of Honor to the Indies to New Japan to Pro Wrestling Noah to Big Japan, um, everything influenced my knowledge because everybody looks at wrestling differently. And to me, there's no one right answer for pro wrestling. There are some people out there that will say, oh, why aren't you doing it this way? It's like, well, maybe that way doesn't work for everybody. There's a million different ways to do things correctly. And I do believe that there's a way to do things wrong. And mostly people aren't doing something wrong. They're just not doing it to optimize the result and the reaction.
Gotcha. So, this is for both of you guys. What topics or conversations do you feel are missing in wrestling media that you're hoping to cover on your show? And I'll start with you, Brian.
What topics?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, really can't think of offhand because I'm pretty much covering everything, every aspect of life as it is, other than following someone home to see what they do there.
Hey, baby. What are you doing? Sorry, she's
I mean,
gonna.
I don't want to ever get into like stuff I hear in the locker room and reporting that. I mean, that kind of nonsense is not interesting to me, and it doesn't help me in the long run or promotion.
Yeah, I hear that. Mike, did you want to add on anything to
Yeah,
that?
so I don't necessarily think there's any topics that aren't being discussed. I believe that either topics are being discussed by wrestling minds in a negative mindset because negativity brings
Yeah, for sure.
downloads, uploads, Um, and then you're looking at the spaces, and I'm not trying to run them down, but you have guys like Meltzer, like Sean Rassap, and all these other people, and then you have these constant social media posts
Yeah.
that are so far off the mark for the simple reason that they don't have a background in wrestling. They have a background in wrestling fandom. Now,
Mhm.
that's fine. It's okay to have an opinion. But the other day, people are telling me, "Oh yeah, I forgot," or I saw it on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah, I forget that there's a whole age of wrestling fans that don't realize that the drop down is an offensive move. It's not. It's absolutely not. And it's like, what are you talking about? You're not a wrestler, and you're trying to tell me that there's a group of fans that don't. It's not an offense. Think about the name, drop down. Why would you drop down? If somebody's shooting in 3-1-3, do you drop down because you're on offense, or do you drop down because you don't want to get shot?
You drop down because you don't want to get shot.
Right. Which is
That's
a
a
what? A
defensive move.
defensive move?
Defensively,
It's
yeah.
in the name. It's in the name. And these people are acting like they know what they're talking about. They're like, well, when I see people trip, it gets. Yes. when you see people trip, it gets a reaction because that's not what the move is for. So when it happens, it's oh my god, I've never seen this before, and garners a reaction. So people don't understand that you're dropping down to evade an offensive move. It's a defensive move. Can it trip somebody? Yes, but that is not what the drop down is. And it's just, it blows my mind that all these people act like they know what they're talking about. It's like, you have no clue. You have no clue because one, you just watch wrestling, and that's okay. It's okay to have an opinion, but don't try to say, "Oh, these other fans are stupid because they don't know it's." No, no, no. You're all stupid when it comes to knowing what moves mean. But and I don't mean stupid in a. I'm just saying, like,
No, I
you
get it. Yeah,
lack the knowledge and the background of it because there is not a person who just writes about wrestling that has studied wrestling as much as a lot of the wrestlers. And I promise, the closest person to me would probably be Dave Meltzer. I know people give him a lot of crap,
yeah, they
but
get
he is genuinely knowledgeable about wrestling. Sure, maybe he says a little bit too nice about AEW and doesn't really, talk about some things that they could do better. Sure. But as far as knowledge, he's one of the most knowledgeable people. But even to him, to me, is such a wide margin because he's never went through what I went through. He was never around the people and talk. I'm on a bus in Japan and I would say, hey, AJ, do you mind if I talk to you a bit before you start playing your game? Like, I wanted that knowledge. I'm on, after a show, go out to dinner. Uh, I would make sure, like, hey, back in the day before I got signed to anywhere, if AJ Styles was in town, hey, do you want to go out to dinner? There's a real nice restaurant. I'd love to just shoot the shit about wrestling. Yeah, for sure. Like, that was, I picked up as much knowledge as I could. I sat beside people in the locker room. I asked questions. Even to this day, I mean, God rest his soul, Tracy Smothers, every show I was ever on with him, even when I was in Ring of Honor, even when I was in New Japan, hey Tracy, could you please watch my match? Oh goddamn boy, I don't need to watch your match. You know what you're doing. I go, but still, you're Tracy Smothers. Like, I want you to watch my match and give me some feedback. I was signed to Ring of Honor and New Japan, and I would wrestle back home in Canada. And if Tyson Dukes was on the show, who was somebody that helped me out and wrestled long before I did, I wanted him to watch my match and give some feedback because as being a student of the game, you have to have people that you can trust to talk to you in a way that other people are afraid to. And none of those people disrespected me, but if they said they saw something that could be done better, or with those guys, they might, what was going through your head when you thought about this, like, and then if I tell them my thought process, then they might go, okay, I never thought about it that way. So it would be open conversations, how to get better, and sometimes even help them. But there's a strong conversation about getting better. And all these people that say this wild stuff about wrestling, like they know what they're talking about. And it's like, it's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to be a fan. But when you start trying to act as if your opinion is right because you have more knowledge than another fan, it's like, just stop it, guys. And it's
yeah,
frustrating because, like I said, I'm all for fandom. I'm all for people, having a podcast and discussing what they like and what they don't like. Just don't try to present it as, I know this to be true and that's the gospel. It's like, no, no, no. You don't. As I said, if I had any hair left, I would have pulled it all out when I saw this. There's fans that don't know that the drop down is supposed to be. No, it's not. Stop it. It bugs me beyond belief.
yeah. That's what's up. So, how do your personalities balance each other out on the podcast, and who's the instigator and who keeps things grounded? I'll
Uh,
start with Mike. Oh,
I'm gonna say that's probably gonna have to be situational because I can keep things grounded, but as you just saw about it, just a simple drop down, I can also lose my cool about stuff because it frustrates me. But that frustration comes from a place of love and love for wrestling. You know what I mean? So, I would assume it's gonna be kind of a counterbalancing act almost on every topic. It just doesn't know who's gonna be the counterbalance of what frame of mind in each situation.
yeah. And then it's like too, you've been in the ring and you know what I'm saying, you have the experience, you're a pro wrestler. So like you said, when people say stuff that's out of pocket or just something that's not true, it's gonna get you riled up. So I definitely understand that.
And it's okay if they say something that's untrue. Just don't try to promote it as if it is true. Like I said, the opinion of it is fine. But then trying to like berate, oh yeah, there's other fans that didn't. I forgot that there's fans that don't even know. It's like no, nobody knows because you don't know what you're talking about either. Just stop. Let's just
Right.
stop it there. It's fine to have an opinion. It's fine to voice what you like and dislike. But when it starts to be like demeaning other people for not knowing something, and you're acting like what you're saying is the truth when it's not, as I said, the friggin' it's drop down. Like, just think of the name. Why would you drop down in a fight for offense unless you are trying to pick their ankle or something? But you're not just going to drop down on your stomach and lay in front of somebody for offense. Like, what is that offense? What are you going to do? Fart in their face when they get close to you? Like, what are you doing? It
Right.
just doesn't make any sense. It's just the logic is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait till they start discussing a leapfrog because a leapfrog is actually a made up name because the person leapfrogging the person isn't actually going for a leapfrog. They're going for a Luthez press or a Hern Karana, and the person coming off the ropes is the one on defense who ducks under. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just those little things that like when you actually understand the the dynamics of wrestling and the dynamics of combat. Like I joined throughout my life, I've been in boxing, jujitsu, judo, karate, kickboxing, Muay Thai. The only reason I did these things was to get a better understanding of combat and how your body moves and works within that combat so I could then put it into pro wrestling. You know, I did amateur wrestling too, but it was all just I never wanted to do these things. It was to better understand, okay, if I get hit here, this is how my body would normally move. If I did this, this is how I would throw a punch, or this is how I would throw a kick. I would use my hips. Okay, if I get hit in the side, I'm not gonna, go towards it. It's gonna turn me in this motion and this, and then that also helps me. Okay, so if this move and this move that you do, if we're leading to this position, I need you to do move A or B to put me in that position because that's how my body would move into that position from those moves. It's so detail orientated that people have no clue what they're talking about because they do not put in it's if it wasn't my entire life and I didn't make a living doing it, I would not have as much knowledge as I have because it's constant. Like you have to watch everything, you have to study everything, and there's not enough time in a day if you are working a 9 to 5. Like you just cannot be at that level without really studying and just paying attention to everything. It's one of the reasons why I love pro wrestling. It's like it's never ending and there's so much to learn and there's so much, and it's just like the fireworks are going off your head 24/7 thinking about stuff. Like there was a time where I used to have a notebook beside my bed because if I'm having a dream and wrestling match is happening or a line from a promo could work, I'd like get out of sleep and like, oh, notebook, write it down in my notebook. Like it was that, yeah, it was that crazy. I mean, when I moved into the house I'm currently in, I have totes of notebooks. Some of them only with a couple pages because I would be like, "Oh no, I'm on the road. I forgot a notebook. I got to run into the dollar store and buy a new notebook so I can take notes during." Like, I just it's so much detail can go into wrestling to make it the pro wrestling that I feel and by the numbers is what sells and what makes people money. Um, there's just so much that goes into it. Like it's so drastic and so much more than what people give it credit for. As a matter of fact, you being, from the 313, Gabe Sapolsky did a seminar, one of his seminars at Truth Martini's former school, House of Truth,
Okay.
for SummerSlam weekend in 2023. And to promote the school, a local newspaper was going to put a writing in the paper for the school because SummerSlam's there.
Mhm.
So I'll never forget, his class started at 6 p.m. The guy from the newspaper comes in, "Hey guys, I'm sorry the photographer couldn't make it. I can only stay till 8. I hope that's okay." "Yeah, no problem." So then me and Truth Martini started talking to him, and then we start watching the matches and giving feedback to the matches. And we didn't end because it was the last week of class, so that all the students were going through like matches, right? So we end class at 12:30, and as we're talking to some of the guys, the guy from the newspaper comes over, and I go, "I thought you were leaving at 8." And he goes, "Yeah, but you guys started talking and I started going, wait, this isn't what I thought wrestling was. Like there's so much detail and there's so much like it's like a masterful artist. Like this is ridiculous. It just didn't like, and he was repeating some of the stuff we said. It's like you go there and then there and it's this and it's that, and he stayed till 12:30. He literally goes, "My wife's gonna kill me," but I could never have imagined how detailed this can be. Because from the outside looking in, even as like a lifelong fan, it's so hard to understand the finer details and the just all the nuances that make something great you'll never understand. And to this day, that's why, Hogan versus Rock WrestleMania 18 is by far one of the greatest matches of all time, because both of those guys, whether you like them or hate them, as I said, I do not stand by many things that Hogan did. I'm just speaking on him as the character Hulk Hogan, not Terry Bollea. That match is, I mean, I was in the building. I was the eighth row fifth row in the Sky Dome that night, and I've never experienced an audience like that ever. And I've went to Game 7 of a World Series. I've been to the NBA championships when the Raptors won. Like I've never experienced something like that in my life, and it's because those two knew the nuances. But yet, if you asked, Dave Meltzer, it's like a 2-star match. Or if you asked a normal wrestling fan, like, who would you rather watch, Hulk Hogan or Kurt Angle? It's like Kurt Angle's a great wrestler, but Hogan was there. There's no performer like that. And it's because he understood the nuances and the finer details that gets an audience. Nobody watched Rock versus Hogan at the Sky Dome in 2002 thinking wrestling was fake. Like you just can't. You just can't. And that's the difference of the nuances and the finer details that are so overlooked, I think, by fans, by writers, and sometimes by wrestlers themselves.
Definitely. Brian, did you want to add anything?
I mean, that pretty much says it all. I mean, nowadays, too many wrestlers want to do flashy stuff, thinking that's going to keep an audience attention, as long as just the little things that like The Rock could do or Austin would do. It's a psychology, not so much a physicality. It really gets you over.
Are you supposed to be in there, baby?
Hey. So, what advice would you give to young wrestlers or
your hands, baby,
trying to break into the wrestling right now?
Your hands. Sorry, 1 second. My baby's 1 second, guys.
Okay.
I'd say, yeah, just get a hold of promoters. Ask them what you can do. Be there, present yourself. Because I know this one guy, Big Dom, whenever he shows up to a show, he's bringing some new guy with him or some new talent, so they can get to know others in the locker room at an easier pace, and they're there to work and help set up, tear down, and I mean, stuff like that. It's not common as much, but when you do see someone do it, you gotta give them that respect.
Definitely. What about you, Mike? Did you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
It's okay, Princess.
What advice would you give to young wrestlers or content creators trying to break into wrestling right now?
Listen to the people doing it, not the people online that don't know anything.
Yeah.
Meaning, I remember there was this. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. And I remember there was a time where fans were going, I don't want to know that wrestlers set up the ring. It doesn't make them look like stars. And then there's kids that go, I don't need to set up the ring, because why would I set... It's like, what? Then I hear about all this stuff about like, oh, I'm such a great promoter that I pay a ring crew to come and set up my stuff instead of the guys on the show. It's like, you're not building anybody with respect. This business is built on respect. Respect for wrestling, respect for the people you wrestle with, and that has gone so far out the window. I would leave to shows early with my students because it was their duty to set up the ring and chairs. Because that is something that you build your way up. And it's like, listen to people who took all the right steps. got to where they were not because of anything other than hard work and determination and helping out when you need to help out. It's not above anybody to set up a ring. It's not above anybody to set up chairs. It's not above people who aren't booked to go to shows and go to the promoter. Hey, can I help set up? If there's anything you need, I'm here. I do have my gear in the car if somebody doesn't show up. But if not, I would love to stay and watch the show. And if you need somebody to run back and forth for you or to relay any messages, please allow me to do that. And that also gives you time and to watch the show, to ask guys about their matches, to sit in the back and hear guys who might be more advanced than you put together their matches. And then most people, like I've had people, and it hasn't happened in years, but I used to have people sit by me when I planned a match, and they would say, "Hey, do you mind if I ask you why you put it that way, or why you put this there and that there?" Because to me, wrestling is like being given a puzzle. So as soon as a promoter says, "Elgin, you're wrestling so and so, and this is the finish." Well, I've just gotten all the pieces put in front of me because I know the wrestler, I know what they do, I know their strengths. I obviously know my strengths, I obviously know what I do, and I know the finish. So now my job is to put the puzzle pieces together to paint the picture that I want the audience to see. But the centerpiece of the puzzle does not go in the top right corner, and the top right corner does not go in the center of the puzzle.
Yeah,
So it's like you want to get out there, and I don't see people showing up to shows to help out anymore that aren't booked. I don't see people hopping in a car with guys. I don't see people getting to shows early to help out. And it's like that's part of the business. And if you don't like it, then you chose the wrong business because what do people do? Do they go to college and they get an internship at a job where they don't make a lot of money? You know what I mean? Like that happens in real life. To think like you're just going to be a pro wrestler and make money right off the bat, you got to look at the first couple years of wrestling like going to college. You're paying to get an education in something that you hope pays off, and then you're set for the rest of your life. But if you don't give it time to learn and to educate yourself, how do you expect to go to the next level?
yeah,
Right? I'm telling you right now, I don't want somebody performing surgery on me straight out of med school.
right.
There ain't no way. There
or
ain't no way. I
or
want
get
to know how many people you've given surgeries to. I want to know how many times you've done it by yourself. And I want to know how many years you've been performing those surgeries by yourself before I'm letting you come near me with a knife.
I,
Right?
I agree. I agree with that.
I mean, but people don't look at it that way because this is fun time. I get to go hang out on my weekends and on my weekends with friends and make $50. And that was a big thing because there's a couple people in Detroit who we can be politically correct, but we don't need to, that are absolute pieces of shit who try to make my life hell. And they don't realize that they're trying to make my life hell when they go out to hang out with their buddies and make $40.
Mm,
I don't make $40 when I wrestle, right? Like this was a living, this was a career, this was something I was making six figures a year doing. And I did not have a gigantic price on the indies because I liked wrestling. I liked wrestling guys who were on the up and coming so I could help teach them. But asking for $750 for an indie show, there was not a lot of guys who asked for that little. Most of their prices were about 1500. So I
mm,
asked for half price compared to a lot of people, not because I couldn't get the 1500, because I didn't want to outprice myself because I wanted to wrestle Blake Christian in Jeffersonville, Indiana on a Thursday before he became somebody because I watched him at shows and go, this kid's good, but he can be even better if somebody teaches him. I did that out of the love for the sport. And some of these guys don't understand. It's like, oh yeah, I get to wrestle Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I get to make $120, but spend 60 of it on gas and spend the other 60 on food. And then I get to call myself a pro wrestler. Like, that's just not what this business is about. Now, are you going to have to go through those steps to make it to the next level? Yes. But too many people are comfortable staying at that level. I don't know, man. I'm never, if I set my goals or something, I want to do it. Like, I can't. I'm a goal orientated person, and I do not like failing. Like I hate failing. I'm that's probably the biggest character flaw I have is I hate failing. Hate it. Hate it.
and real quick, just me, just being a content creator, been doing this podcast for almost 3 years now. The advice that I would give somebody that's want to do content creating for wrestling, just do it. Don't worry about the equipment. Don't worry about if you got the lighting or the big microphone. Sometimes you could do it just do it from your phone. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And
That's for sure.
hey, you never know where that'll take you. You know what I'm saying? I do my podcast from my phone, and I've been very, very successful and been having a lot of fun doing this. So, I'm just, hey, everything else is gonna fall into place. But for anybody that's trying to that wants to start off doing content creation or doing a podcast, just do it. Don't worry about the equipment and stuff. It's all gonna come.
I mean, that's sound advice. I mean, a lot of people defeat themselves and stop it, overthinking it.
Yeah.
When I started Push with Crew, it was just a freaking my telephone, a tripod, my wife talking to someone. And then eventually we upgraded the microphones to cut down on that sound that was going on in the background. But yeah, you learn as you go along. And
Definitely. So, question for you guys: like, what do you what do you guys think of the state of pro wrestling as far as like the pro promotions? We seeing AEW, you know what I'm saying? They've been around for about 5 years, and the growth that they've made. TNA is kind of getting back into the fold with the show on AMC, and of course we got the big juggernaut WWE. Brian, I'm gonna start with you. Like, what do you think is the state of the pro promotions right now?
pro promotions, let's say, are doing well. I mean, I'm more particular to AEW, anything at national level. I like the variation of talent there. You get different styles clashing, and they get more international superstars coming in, it seems.
Definitely. What about you, Mike? What do you think?
Okay. I think that right now, story wise, AEW is probably the best it's ever been.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that sometimes they rely too much on similar styles. Like I watched one of the shows and commentary had to say, well, you saw so and so do this move earlier. That should never happen on TV.
yeah.
And that's not a detriment. It's a learning process. As you said, they've only been around for going on 7 years now. So it's a learning process. You have to stand out. You have to be different. Right now, I think they are on fire. I think they definitely have an amazing roster. Probably the best roster they've had in a long time. I mean, since the beginning, I would almost say they have the best roster they've ever had currently. Again, people going, "Oh yeah, have MJF squashed by Brody King." Blah blah blah. It's like, okay, let's break this down. One, there was somebody for the distraction. Two, what are you gonna do? Have them wrestle on TV a week and a half apart, both of them competitive matches? No, you had to have that. Now, Brody, people believe he can beat MJF because he beat him so fast. That's beautiful storytelling. And people forget MJF's the heel. He needs egg on his face. That's what heels need, egg on their face, a believable baby face. But, wrestling social media people, the IWC, the over well knowing, they know everything. I think AEW is really going to have a great 2026, and we're going to see huge growth in the company. Now, WWE, I think, is great right now. The IWC likes to bitch about booking and this and that. I think their booking is the best it's been. I think the one setback is we are so used to traditionally having the build of WrestleMania start at Royal Rumble, but now that Elimination Chamber also sets up a main event, we don't have the build that we used to matter of time. But once Elimination Chamber is over, the build to WrestleMania is going to be ridiculous and set forth, and it's going to be a great WrestleMania. I think everything they do right now is pretty good. Um, I think most things they do is great, and even if it's not great, it's pretty good with WWE. I think that TNA has to understand that in today's day and age, they are ECW.
Yep.
Meaning when I was there, Scott and Don were so focused on getting the next star that would get people into the product rather than building the TNA star, right? Think about it. How over was Rob Van Dam when he got to WWE?
Oh, he was
How
over.
over is Rob Van Dam now? That was because he was ECW's homegrown star.
Mhm.
TNA does not do that anymore. They need to focus on what talent is out there that nobody knows that we can make our own talent.
Yeah,
And they unfortunately tend to focus on what stars can we get that have been somewhere else. That
yeah,
is not the way to promote TNA. They have to stand out from the pack. To stand out from the pack, they have to look out to say, okay, how do we get this tag team? How do we get these guys over? We need TNA talent. It's like that's the one thing I think they're missing is they're so focused on okay, Frankie Zarian was a TNA guy back in the day, then he came from AEW. Then we have, you know, Nemeth with the WWE background and this and that, and they tend not to focus on who is the TNA guy, who
yeah,
is TNA, right? Like, don't get me wrong, Ali and Cedric are fantastic pickups for the company, but they are always going to be looked at it as ex WWE guys.
Mhm.
that's
They
true.
need a TNA guy. I mean, AJ Styles was Mr. TNA, and
Yeah,
then look at the career he's had.
that's
He's one of the few guys that get to keep his name when he went to
Mhm.
WWE.
yeah. Because
Like, you got to
usually
think about that. So who's that guy for TNA?
that's true.
Maybe maybe Mike Santana, but he's arguably more over now because he had the press from AEW.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he had a great run there, but more people saw him in AEW than they saw him in his first run in TNA. So I
And
think that TNA has to understand they are ECW, meaning they got to do something where when ECW brought in Steve Austin to
Yeah.
promote Mikey Whipwreck and Sandman, it's like Austin was not the main draw, or Austin was not what they focused on. He was what the focus was to get attention on the rest of the guys. And I believe that that's what TNA has to do. Overall, I think at the top, wrestling is fairly strong. I don't know how TNA is doing contracts right now. Um, all I can say is I know what it was like when I was there, and I was one of the few people who was making what I was making and didn't have to have a job outside of wrestling. I don't know what they're doing now. Obviously, money is a big motivator for wrestling, and you're going to jump to whatever promotion kind of is paying you more. But TNA can really dive into uncovering the next stars for AEW and WWE. But first, they need to uncover them, make them a TNA star, and then word will travel about TNA. It's like you would hope that Josh Alexander going to AEW, people go, "Oh, I've never seen him before. Where did he come from?" TNA. Oh, let's check out TNA if somebody like Josh Alexander was there. And that's, I think, that they have to put more eggs in that basket than eggs in the basket of, and not running down Nemeth or Cedric or Ali or the Hardys or anything like that. All great wrestlers, don't get me wrong, but they still have that WWE umbrella that's kind of made them who they are, which
yeah,
yes is going to bring viewers, but what happens when they decide to move on again? Or the Hardys, what if they decide to retire because they've been doing it for a long time? Like, who is
yeah,
going to be the people that take those places and become the TNA homegrown stars?
definitely. Yeah, I agree with that because what the Hardys are in their 50s now.
Okay.
They gotta be right.
Yeah, yeah. So they don't got that much time left, and then with all the ladder and TLC matches that they've had in the past, that wear and tear is probably catching up with them now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, real quick, I'm gonna ask y'all. Right now, who do you think is the face of wrestling right now, or the future? I'll say that the future of wrestling right now. I'll start with you, Brian.
I could name a couple of independent stars I think are going to be huge. Aston Adonis is one. Eric Surge, that's another one. I mean, these guys are so close.
Very sweet. Mike, who
So,
who you
so do
think?
you want me to classify it as like Brian just talked about the indies, or like a couple indie names that are those guys, and then
Yeah, you could do indies and pros. It don't matter.
so do you want the face of wrestling now or the future? What let's
Uh,
break this down into categories so I can better equipped to give you answers.
okay. The future of wrestling in the indies and the future of wrestling in the pros.
Okay, Braun Breaker for sure.
Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, Indies. I agree with Ashton Adonis. He was one of the people that I really pushed for before I got hurt. A War Ready Malenko out of Indianapolis is going to be another one. And then Ryan Mathias and KJ Reynolds out of Detroit, actually, I think are going to be,
Matthias, yeah.
yeah.
Right. Sweet. I'm gonna have to look them up on Facebook or something.
Yeah, another indie guy, Devon Riker. That dude is amazing for his size.
Okay. Is one guy that I've been seeing on TikTok. He's been going viral because of his theme song. Sosa, Ricky Sosa.
I heard he's good. There's another guy, and I'm a little bit partial because I did train him, and he is the godfather of my daughter. But the modern man, Calvin Coco, he's gonna do some big things too.
Okay. Um, with you being in New Japan, and wrestling with the Bullet Club, is the Bullet Club better than the NWO, or were they? Do you think? And I know you didn't wrestle against the NWO, but just being part of that Bullet Club,
So I think purely on number wise, NWO was bigger just because of how big wrestling was at the time with the NWO happening.
got it, got it.
And as I said, I don't want anybody to take this out of context. I do not, and I know I've said it a million times, I do not stand with Hulk Hogan on so many things, but there is no doubt he is one of the most recognizable wrestling stars of
Definitely.
all time. He was part of the NWO.
Yeah,
But I think as far as impact on the business, they're both pretty neck and neck because you got to think Bullet Club really made New Japan what it would become. And then with that, the influence New Japan had on NXT Black and Gold, I don't think. And that's not taking away their talent. I just think they were so talented and of course a perfect fit for a group like the Bullet Club that the combination of them being so good and the Bullet Club catching fire, like without the Bullet Club, is there AEW?
that's true.
You know, like really, you know what I mean? Because it was Cody, Bucks, and Kenny, and what all do they all have in common? The Bullet Club, like you got to think.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for wrestling culture wise, I think they're pretty neck and neck for the importance of each stable.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like because Cody and all themselves, they call themselves the elite outside of New Japan when they would do their YouTube videos.
Yeah.
That kind of remind me of the Click a little bit. You know what I'm saying? If you think about it, like the Click was part of two of the most influential factions in wrestling, and the elite basically started AEW. So, like you said, they are definitely neck and neck.
I believe so. I would have to put them both on even playing ground. Yeah.
Brian, what's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, both of their cultural impacts were you can not you couldn't ignore them is what I wanted to say. I mean, for the Bullet Club though, I know a lot of people wore their shirts and never seen a match of theirs during the start of
So
it,
it's
and
funny.
it's like they just went to Hot Topics, like, oh, what's this? Oh, so it looks cool.
There was a big push with indie
Yeah.
wrestling about making shirts that didn't have to be wrestling orientated so people could wear them elsewhere. And it's
Exactly.
funny, like everybody was kind of doing it at that time. But then now it's like I see an old school style wrestling shirt with like Bret Hart wearing the shades and pink and black and like a big character of him on it. And I'm like, that's the type of wrestling shirt I want. Like I'm not embarrassed to be a wrestling fan. Give me the old school shirts
Yeah,
with people's bodies and faces on. It's funny that you say that, Brian, just because it was like that was the big push. Like you
Yeah.
sold more t-shirts if you could come up with a design that was not typecasted into the wrestling, the wrestling landscape, so people could buy a shirt and just wear it because it was cool.
definitely. So, Mike, so if you ever get you at home, you get an email, you get a call, and it's WWE, TNA, AEW, which one would you go to?
WWE.
Straight to
Like, hands down,
the
there's not even a thought.
straight to the main roster or NXT?
At this point in my life, of course, I would love to go to the main roster, but there would be something fulfilling of going to NXT and being that guy that can be a player coach. I could wrestle and teach people at the PC, but also wrestle on the NXT television so people are getting real life experience in an actual match setting rather than just a training setting. But of course, I always had a dream of winning the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Of course, one day I would have loved to main event WrestleMania and be world champion, but I was realistic. And growing up, watching the clash between Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat and Bret Hart winning the Intercontinental title and Shawn Michaels winning the Intercontinental title, like I always wanted to win the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania.
That's what's up. So, this is for both of you. Looking ahead, what's next for both of you, podcast wise, wrestling wise, or any projects fans should be keeping an eye on? I'll start with you, Brian.
Sunday, we have, what the hell is that? It's I think card subject to change. That'll be Sunday. I don't know what the time is, but I'll post that. Then for our podcast, we'll be getting to that sometime after this little stretch of podcast to promote it.
Okay. Definitely. And Mike, anything you got coming up in the future?
I'm just looking forward to the podcast. So in 2024, it was the first year of my life that I worked outside of wrestling since 2008. And unfortunately, my coworker was drunk and dropped boards on my head, which hurt my neck. Then workman's comp took their time, and because of the trauma and immobility that followed that, led to pretty severe blood clots in my leg, to the point where I had 5 surgeries, and before 2 of them, I was close to dying because of blood clots. So I'm still on the mend from that type of stuff. But there's always a blessing in stuff because, I unfortunately, due to my career, missed a lot of my son's younger years. I was there, but I was wrestling so much, New Japan, Mexico, all over the world. And my daughter's only 16 months old. So like, yes, it sucks that everything has happened the way it's happened. But at the same token, there's things that I'm getting to experience for the first time with my daughter that unfortunately I never got to experience with my son. And it's just, that's really what I look forward to, is when I get to spend time with my kids and my wife and just enjoy life, because I think for so many years I was caught up in the wrestling bubble and how important that was to me. I forgot to live life outside of it, and now I'm just really enjoying life outside of it, man. Food too. I like food a lot. Like when these injuries clear, I'm gonna need about 6 months to get back into shape, because man, there's something about being hurt sitting on the couch, and when somebody goes, maybe we should order pizza, and for the first time in my life, I'm like, we should order pizza and wings and garlic bread. I think like that sounds good.
Hey, that do sound good right now. I love me some pizza.
Oh
Definitely.
man, there was a time where in a span of about 2 weeks, I tried all the chain pizzas and all the special pizza places around to see which one in my area had the best pizza. So I'm with you on the love for pizza. That's for sure.
That's what's up. So, fellas, I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate you coming on, talking about the podcast and just overall talking about wrestling. Did you guys, before we leave, want to drop any social media pages or anything like that?
Well,
I'll
we
start.
do have
Oh,
Mike
go ahead.
Elgin Saves Wrestling Facebook and YouTube. And then outside of that, I have my Stage Combat Network where I record indie matches and post them there. And then Push Would Prove, that's another one on YouTube and Facebook.
Sweet, sweet. Mike, did you want to push any socials?
Yeah, I'm on X. I think it's at Aaron Frobel 86 or whatever. I kind of just talk shit in there because I don't take that place seriously or the people that are on that app seriously. Don't send me a bunch of friend requests, but I did put up a lot of wrestling info that is not private on my Aaron Frobel Facebook. And then like Brian said, the Michael Elgin Saves Wrestling Facebook group. And other than that, I want to leave everybody with this note is if somebody tries to tell you the drop down is an offensive move, they're an idiot.
And those were wise words by Michael Elgin. Before I get out of here, just wanted to, everybody that's been watching this live stream, thank you for watching. Check out Wrestling from the 313 on Facebook, where we got over 1,000 followers now. TikTok, we hit the 1,000 followers mark. Instagram, we still growing on there. Sometimes I'm on X and Twitter. I got a LinkedIn
Isn't X and
page.
Twitter just comes as such a cesspool? Like it's
Right.
like everybody who's just a disgrace to the human race just goes on X repeatedly and constantly. It's like it's such a it used to be cool on there. Now it's just a cesspool of like the worst human beings ever on the planet.
Yeah, definitely. And always check out Wrestling from the 313 on YouTube. We last time I checked, we are over 8,100 subscribers. We hit over 4.5 million views, so we continuing to grow. We getting close to 5 million views, and we on the road to 10K. So everybody that subscribe, watch the episode, like, comment, share, whatever. I appreciate it, and we just continue to grow. Continue to grow. So, and also make sure you check out Michael Elgin Saves Wrestling when the podcast drop. I'll definitely share that news when we get the official date. Check them out on YouTube. Subscribe to their channel. Subscribe to their Facebook channel as well. So, for my guest Brian Hubbart, the one and only Michael Elgin, I am Mike B, host of Wrestling from the 313, and we will catch you next week. Peace.